Very good day to all of you. Now today we will continue our session gas chromatography, that is part 2. As you are aware, in a previous session we have discussed about gas solid chromatography, basic principle and stationary phase. Then in gas liquid chromatography, basic principle of gas liquid chromatography, essential conditions. Then in instrumentation part, we have seen carrier gas supply and sample injection system, as well as columns used in gas chromatography. So dear students, now today we will talk about thermostat, one of the component of gas chromatography. Gas column chromatography makes use of a sample in the form of a vapor. Hence the column is operated at a high temperature. The column temperature is an important parameter in gas liquid chromatography. Since the variation in temperature results in the change in the retention time of a compound, hence it is absolutely important to control the temperature of the column strictly to few tenths of a degree by employing a thermostat in the oven. The optimum column temperature depends upon the boiling point of the sample to be analyzed and also on the degree of separation required. Usually a temperature higher than the average boiling point of a sample is employed for the separation. If a sample contains a large number of compounds with a broad range of boiling points, then a facility of a temperature programming provided in the instrument, which is utilized. And this allows an increase in the temperature of the column in increments, thereby allowing the elution of all the compounds of the mixture within a reasonable time period, which ranges from 2 to 30 minutes. Now moving towards detectors used in gas chromatography that should satisfy the following conditions. It should respond rapidly. This is because solute passes over the detector very rapidly, maybe 1 second or less, and therefore detector should produce response during this short time interval. It should be highly sensitive so as to produce a large response to a lower concentrations of solutes. This is particularly required in gas chromatography since a solute is eluted out along with a large volume of the carrier gas. It should produce linear response to the concentration of solutes in the eluate, as we have seen in HPLC detector as well. It should respond to a wide variety of compounds, and it should not, as far as possible, destroy the sample. No single detector satisfied all these conditions, but the most commonly used detectors in gas liquid chromatography are thermal conductivity detectors, that is a cathometer. Now we will talk about this detector in terms of principle, construction, working, advantages and disadvantages of these detectors. Thermal conductivity detector is also called as a cathometer and is based upon the changes in the thermal conductivity of the gas stream. Thermal conductivity detector works on the principle of Wheatstone bridge, which consists of 4 resistances in the circuit. Out of 4 resistances, the magnitude of 3 resistances remains constant and the 4th one varies as per the change in the temperature. The change in the temperature of the resistance wire is because of the difference in the capacity of the solute and the carrier gas to absorb heat. that is the difference in their thermal conductivities when they are passed over the heated element. The change in the temperature changes the resistance, which in turn brings about the change in the current in the circuit. And this gives the idea of the concentration of solute in the eluate. Moving towards construction, as you are observing in this diagram, two coils, that is A and B, corresponding to resistance R1 and R4 respectively, are kept at a constant temperature. By passing a constant current through them, one coil, that is A, is placed in the gas stream before the sample injection system, and another coil B is kept beyond the column. The coils are made up of fine platinum or tungsten wires, or alternatively a semi-conducting thermostat is made use of. Two more resistances, that is R2 and R3, are connected with these coils, and the circuit is joined so as to amplify and record the signal. In case of working, a standing current is passed through two coils A and B by connecting them to a source of constant electric voltage. The passage of constant current through these coils maintain them at a constant temperature. The values of the two resistances, that is R1 and R2, are constant throughout the separation. When the carrier gas is passed over coil A, which is placed before the sample injection system, depending on its thermal conductivity, it removes some heat from the coil. The temperature of this coil A remains constant throughout the separation, since only the carrier gas passes over it. This constant temperature of the coil offers a constant resistance R1 to the flow of current. The carrier gas also passes over coil B, kept beyond the column. The temperature of this coil B also attains certain value, and when only the carrier gas is passing over it and offers resistance R4 to the flow of the current, the current in the circuit is made zero, that is null point, by adjusting the value of resistance R3 in the circuit so that the equation gets satisfied. As you know, the equation of Wheatstone bridge, that is R1 divided by R2 is equal to R3 divided by R4. So in this way, the thermal conductivity of the carrier gas is cancelled, and the effects of variation in the flow rate, pressure, and electrical power are minimized. When the eluate contains a solute, a mixture of solute and the carrier gas passes over the second coil B, whereas only the carrier gas passes over the coil A. The thermal conductivity of the carrier gas alone and a mixture of a solute and the carrier gas in the eluate are different. Hence, when a solute is eluted out in the carrier gas, the mixture removes different amount of heat from the coil B as compared to when only the carrier gas passes over it. The temperature of the coil B now depends on the thermal conductivity of this mixture and not on the thermal conductivity of the carrier gas alone. The resistance offered by coil B depends on the actual temperature of this coil. The change in the resistance of this coil disturbs the null point in the circuit. The resistance R3 in the circuit is again adjusted so as to get zero current in the circuit, and this is achieved only under the condition expressed by equation of Wheatstone bridge, That is R1 divided by R2 is equal to R4 divided by R3. Just correct over here it. Earlier I told about R1 divided by R2 is equal to R3 divided by R4. But actual equation is R1 divided by R2 is equal to R4 divided by R3. So the change in the resistance R4 of a coil B provides information about the concentration of solute in the eluate. The carrier gas used in a GLC is either hydrogen or helium. The thermal conductivities of the hydrogen and helium are roughly 6 to 10 times greater than those of the most of the organic compounds. Thus, the presence of even small amount of an organic compound in the carrier gas brings about a relatively large decrease in the thermal conductivities of the eluate. And this results in marked rise in the temperature of the detector. This is not the case when nitrogen or carbon dioxide is used as the carrier gas, since their conductivities are almost the same as those of the organic compounds. Thus, the presence of a small amount of an organic compound in this carrier gas doesn't bring about a noticeable change in the thermal conductivity of the eluate. Hence, detection of organic compounds by thermal conductivity detector in presence of nitrogen or carbon dioxide as a carrier gas is less sensitive. Then we'll talk about advantages. Thermal conductivity detector is a relatively simple, rugged, and an inexpensive detector. It can be used for detecting a wide variety of substances, and hence it is broadly applicable detection system. It is a non-destructive of the sample and it provides accurate results. In disadvantages, we can say thermal conductivity detector is a non-selective detector. It is not very sensitive as compared to other. Detection of organic compounds by thermal conductivity detector in the presence of nitrogen or carbon dioxide as a carrier gas is less sensitive. Then in electron capture detector, that is ECD, as a part of principle, a beam of electrons is generated from an element which acts as an electron emitter. These electrons generate a standing current in the circuit which remains constant in absence of an organic compound. If an organic compound which is capable of capturing electrons comes in the path of this electron beam, suddenly the number of electrons is decreased and it results in the change in the current in the circuit. And this change in the current gives indication about the presence of an organic compound in the eluate and also about the concentration in it. As a part of construction, as you are observing in this diagram, an electron capture detector consists of a beta emitter, such as a nickel or a tritium adsorbed on a platinum or a titanium foil, two electrodes, a cathode and anode, are kept on either side of this beta emitter. Two electrodes are connected to an emitter in order to record the current produced in the circuit. In working, the effluent from the column is passed over a beta emitter. When a solute is not eluted out from the column, only the carrier gas, which is usually nitrogen, passes over the beta emitter. Beam of electrons from the beta emitter causes ionization of the carrier gas and results in the production of shower of electrons. In the absence of any organic solute in the eluate, ionization of the carrier gas produces a constant standing current between a pair of electrodes. When a solute is eluted out from the column, and when this solute is able to capture electrons towards it, the current decreases. The decrease in the current gives idea about the concentration of a solute in the sample. In advantages, electron capture detector is selective in its response. It is highly sensitive towards the organic compounds possessing electronegative functional groups such as halogens, peroxides, vinyls, nitro, and so on. It is very commonly used for the detection and determination of chlorinated insecticides. It is insensitive to compounds such as amides, alcohols, and hydrocarbons. In contrast to flame ionization detector, it doesn't change the sample significantly. In disadvantages, the response from electron capture detector is non-linear unless the potential across the detector is pulsed. Flame ionization detector, already we have seen this detector in HPLC, isn't it? So we will not talk about this detector over here because, as you know, the basic principle of flame ionization detector, construction, then working, advantages and disadvantages. Then moving towards applications of gas liquid chromatography. It is used for the qualitative and the quantitative analysis under carefully controlled conditions. An accuracy of 1.3% is attainable. GLC is commonly used for the analysis of volatile compounds or the compounds which can be vaporized at the temperature of the sample port of the gas chromatograph. This technique is specifically applied for the separation of complex mixtures, organometallic compounds, and biochemical systems. Gas chromatograms are widely used as a criteria of purity for volatile compounds. Contaminants, if present, are revealed by the appearance of the additional peaks. The area under these peaks provides a rough estimate of the extent of contamination. The technique is also useful for evaluating the effectiveness of purification processes. It is very commonly used as a powerful fractionating tool in conjunction with superior analytical instruments such as mass, UV, IR, and NMR spectrometers. Then one of the important parameter, we will talk about gas liquid chromatography with selective detectors. In that, there are three kinds of selective detectors: automatic titration detectors, coupling of gas chromatography to mass spectrometry, and coupling of gas chromatography to IR spectrometry. We will just explore each detector. In automatic titration detectors, gas liquid chromatography with automatic titration detector is used either for volatile aromatic and aliphatic fatty acids or for amines. In this method, the effluent from the column is continuously led directly into a cell containing a solution of an acid-base indicator. The absorbance of this solution is monitored continuously photometrically. When an acidic or an alkaline solute is not present in the eluate, the color of an acid-base indicator remains unchanged and a constant absorbance reading is obtained. As soon as an acidic and or an alkaline solute appears in the eluate, the color of an acid-base indicator changes. This results in the change in the absorbance of an acid-base indicator. And this change in the absorbance provides information about the quantity of a solute in the eluate. Addition of a suitable titrant to this eluate also provides an idea about the concentration of an acid or a base in the eluate. The wavelength of absorption of a compound helps in identifying the compound. Thus, the qualitative as well as quantitative information is obtained in this manner. This method is commonly employed in the analysis of various chlorinated compounds contained in the pesticide residues. Then in GCMS, that is coupling of gas chromatography to mass spectrometry, Nowadays, chromatographic columns are commonly coupled to mass spectrometers. As soon as the solute is eluted out from the column, it is passed into a mass spectrometer. Here the solute is ionized and undergoes fragmentation, thereby producing a number of ionic species. A signal is obtained for each ionic species, which results in the production of mass spectrum, that is mass to charge ratio. And this spectrum makes possible for identification and also the quantification of a large number of compounds present in the sample. Hence, it is particularly used for the analysis of compounds from the natural origin and also for the biological systems. For example, it is used for characterization of the odors and flavors of foods and identification of pollutants. It is also used to diagnose certain volatile compounds like alcohol in breath and to find the presence or the absence of certain drugs or drug metabolites in the body fluids. A major problem in this method is the presence of large volume of the carrier gas in the eluate, which dilutes the eluted compounds enormously and weakens the signal. This is not, however, a major drawback of this method, since several separators can be employed in order to separate solute from a large volume of the carrier gas before the eluate is passed to the mass spectrometer. Coupling of mass spectrometer with efficient separatory devices such as chromatographs provides an important tool for the separation and identification of compounds from a complex mixture. Such techniques are called as hyphenated techniques. Then in coupling of gas chromatography to IR spectrometry, the effluent from the gas chromatograph is passed first through a separator to remove most of the carrier gas and then through a Fourier transform IR spectrometer. This provides an IR spectrum of an eluted solute, which helps in its identification. The spectra for solutes can be stored in a computer or can be printed out to derive the required information whenever needed. So dear students, another aspect now we will try to see over here, that is GC headspace chromatography. So headspace is the gas space above the sample in chromatography vial. For example, this is a vial. So here we are talking about headspace gas. Volatile sample components diffuse into the gas phase, forming the headspace gas. This is our sample for our analysis. Whatever the volatile components, they get diffused and come over here as a headspace gas. Headspace analysis is therefore the analysis of the components present in this gas. Now more clarity you will get over here. These are the phases of the headspace vial. This is a volatile analytes. This is the sample along with some diffusion modifier. G represents the gas phase, that is called as a headspace. The gas phase is commonly referred to as the headspace and lies above the condensed sample phase. S represents the sample phase. The sample phase contains the compounds of interest and is usually in the form of liquid or a solid in combination with dilution solvent or matrix modifier over here. And once the sample phase is introduced into the vial and the vial is sealed, volatile component diffuse into the gas phase until the headspace has reached a state of equilibrium as depicted by the arrows. The sample is then taken from the headspace. Then in another part, suitability. That part we will talk in detail. Headspace gas chromatography is most suited to the analysis of the very light volatiles in a sample that can be efficiently partitioned into the headspace gas volume from the liquid or solid matrix sample. Higher boiling volatiles and semi-volatiles are not detectable with this technique due to their low partition in the gas headspace volume. Headspace gas analysis also lends itself to automation for quality control or sample screening, and this is made possible by modern instrumentation through which highly reproducible samples can be prepared in an efficient and accurate manner. Whereas complex sample matrices, which may be difficult to analyze directly or would otherwise require sample extraction or preparation, are ideal candidates for headspace since they can be placed directly in a vial with a little or no preparation, and this saves both time and money. Then in application parts, headspace gas chromatography is used for the analysis of volatile and semi-volatile organics in a solid, liquid, and gas samples. Common applications include industrial analysis of monomers in a polymers and plastic, flavor compounds in a beverages and food products, and fragrances in a perfumes and cosmetics. And it is also used for analysis of alcohols in a blood and residual solvents in pharmaceutical products. So dear learners, that's all from gas chromatography chapter. Hope you understood about basic principle of gas solid chromatography, gas liquid chromatography, then instrumentation part. In instrumentation, you got clarity regarding carrier gas used in gas chromatography, stationary phases used in gas solid as well as gas liquid chromatography, type of columns installed in instrument, packed columns, capillary columns, role of thermostat, why thermostat is required to install in oven, then detectors, principal construction and working of cathometer, electron capture detector, flame ionization detector, application of gas liquid chromatography, and two more concepts, that is hyphenated techniques, that is gas chromatography and mass spectrophotometry, GCMS and GCIR, and along with that headspace analysis and why headspace analysis is required. So we will conclude our session with quote of the day by Buddha. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. Have a good day, have a nice time, and happy learning. Thank you very much.